In our last video, we uncovered how judges are quietly closing in on Trump, tightening deadlines, rejecting delays, and forcing his legal team into corners with no escape. Tonight, we go deeper into Trump's own legal strategy, the defenses he has relied on, the tactics he has deployed, and why, despite all his efforts, things may have gone terribly wrong. This is not just a story of courtroom battles. It is a story of miscalculation, overconfidence, and the limits of spectacle when confronted with the silence of the law. Trump's legal strategy has always been built on delay. For decades, whether in business disputes or political investigations, he relied on postponements, appeals, and procedural maneuvers to push problems into the future. Delay was his shield, his most reliable weapon. But as we saw in the last video, judges are stripping that shield away. Trial dates are being set, motions to delay are being denied, and the clock is no longer under Trump's control. What went wrong? The very tactic that once protected him has now collapsed under the weight of judicial persistence. Delay is no longer a strategy, it is a trap. And every time a judge refuses to grant more time, Trump's defense loses its most powerful tool. Another cornerstone of Trump's defense has been denial. Every accusation becomes a witch hunt. Every charge becomes political persecution. This narrative works in rallies, it works in headlines, it works in the court of public opinion. But inside the courtroom, denial is not enough. Judges demand evidence, juries demand facts, and prosecutors bring documents, testimonies, and recordings. What went wrong? Denial cannot dismantle evidence. It cannot erase contracts, phone calls, or classified files. The courtroom is not swayed by chance. It is swayed by proof. And when denial collides with evidence, denial shatters. Trump's team also relied heavily on intimidation, not in the courtroom directly, but in the broader arena of politics. By framing every case as an attack on his supporters, he turned legal battles into political fuel. But this strategy carries risk. Judges are not moved by rallies. Prosecutors are not silenced by crowds. And the more Trump escalates the rhetoric, the more the cases themselves gain urgency. What went wrong? Intimidation may energize supporters, but it hardens the resolve of the system. The louder the noise outside, the quieter and sharper the rulings inside. And intimidation, once a weapon, becomes evidence of defiance. Financially, Trump's legal strategy has been strained. Endless delays and high-profile defenses require immense resources. Legal teams must be paid, appeals must be filed, and battles must be fought on multiple fronts. But as cases multiply, costs rise. What went wrong? The empire that once seemed limitless is now bleeding resources. Each new case drains money, energy, and focus. And in the courtroom, financial strength cannot buy time. Only compliance with the law can. The longer the battles drag on, the more the empire weakens, and the more fragile the defense becomes. Trump's lawyers have also struggled with consistency. Different cases require different defenses, and contradictions begin to emerge. In one courtroom, the strategy may be to deny knowledge. In another, it may be to admit but justify. These contradictions weaken credibility. Judges notice, prosecutors exploit, and juries remember. What went wrong? A fragmented defense cannot withstand a unified prosecution. The cracks in strategy become cracks in survival, and once credibility is lost, every argument becomes suspect. Perhaps the most dangerous miscalculation is Trump's reliance on spectacle. His strategy assumes that public opinion can shield him, that rallies and headlines can outweigh rulings. But judges, as we saw in the last video, operate in silence. They do not play to the crowd. They do not seek applause. And in that silence, Trump's spectacle loses power. What went wrong? The courtroom is not a stage. It is a battlefield where noise is stripped away, leaving only the law. And when spectacle collides with silence, silence wins. Supporters may still see him as a victim, opponents as guilty. But the deeper truth is that Trump's legal strategy is colliding with the limits of reality. Delay is failing. Denial is crumbling. Intimidation is backfiring. Finances are draining. Contradictions are mounting. And spectacle is powerless against silence. What went wrong? Everything that once worked outside the courtroom is failing inside it. The strategy that once seemed invincible is now unraveling piece by piece. The world is watching. Allies and adversaries alike are studying how America handles this crisis. If Trump's strategy collapses, it signals that even the most powerful cannot bend the law. If it somehow succeeds, it signals that power can still manipulate justice. Either outcome will leave scars. What went wrong is not just about Trump, it is about the system itself and whether it can withstand the storm. Every ruling, every denial, every contradiction sends a message not just to America, but to the world. Ultimately, Trump's legal strategy may prove to be his greatest weakness. Built on delay, denial, intimidation, and spectacle, it thrived in politics, but falters in law. Judges are closing in, evidence is mounting, and the silence of rulings is louder than any rally chant. What went wrong? Trump's strategy was designed for politics, not justice. And justice, once it arrives, cannot be delayed, denied, or distracted. The courtroom strips away the noise, leaving only the truth. And truth, once revealed, cannot be silenced. The storm is intensifying. In the last video, we saw how judges are closing in. Now, we see why Trump's own strategy may be collapsing under the weight of its flaws. Every ruling, every deadline, every contradiction pushes him closer to a reckoning. The question is not only whether Trump can survive the trials, but whether America itself can withstand the pressure. Because when the pillars of democracy tremble, the cracks spread far beyond one man. And once the cracks appear, can they ever be repaired? The silence of judges may prove to be the loudest sound in America's future. And now the question is yours. As Trump's legal strategy falters, do you believe it will ultimately lead to accountability? Or will he find a way to turn even failure into survival? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because your voice is part of this unfolding story.